I don't mind doing that.
Yay. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm so excited to be here with you, Laura, and with everybody. We're going to talk about how to run multiple businesses and still be successful without being stressed out. And so, Laura, I would love to kind of know your story on, you had a real job and you did that at a really high level, and then you started getting into real estate. And I know a lot of people that are here, you don't just go, oh, I don't need a job. I'm just going to jump into real estate. You have something that you have to transition out of, and there's risk involved in that. And you've got to calculate income and projections. So, kind of share what was your story, what was your situation, and how did you get into real estate full time?
Yeah, so I was in like a consulting IT type medium-sized business, and I was really lucky because I worked primarily from home, and then I started getting more into traveling with our sales team, which was kind of funny, the timing of that, because I thought it would be super cool to be able to travel with them. But I was there for a total of about 10 years. Um, During my last 3 years is when I decided to get my real estate license. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to like, why did I get my real estate license? Well, we had some downturns in like the energy sector because those were a lot of our big clients. And there was a layoff, and I got laid off one time. Totally wasn't expecting that to happen. And I was a full-time employee. They hired me back as a consultant so they wouldn't have to pay my benefits. Like I don't even know, like 4 months later. And that scared me a little bit, but it changed me to contract, which is interesting how that prepared me for being a realtor. But I had a friend who had always told me you'd be great at real estate, you should get your license, and I had thought about it. And so as a backup plan, I went ahead and signed up for the classes and decided that I couldn't rely on them to keep me employed or keep an income coming. So I was gonna, dabble in this real estate thing, and I really thought I was gonna do it part time. And so by the time I ended up finishing my classes, we were really busy again. I think they hired me back as an employee at a certain point. And I know when I left, I was an employee, so I think at some point that did happen. And I did the thing that a lot of people do. I was just friends and family that knew me were asking me to help them buy, mostly buy. Um, and again, it was part time, and then COVID happened, and everybody got busy, and I was one of those everybody's. And I just really, I can say this, the first house I sold, I fell in love with it and I knew I wanted it to be my full-time career. So that was already like in my mind. It's very hard, I will say, if you're thinking about mindset, one of the things that is the most difficult thing to do is to stay engaged and excited about your regular job whenever you know you love real estate. So I would recommend people keep that in mind, that you do have to stay committed to that regular job so you keep that income. That stability, I would say for people it's similar having that stability and taking off in real estate to somebody who has a spouse who has a really solid W-2 job or a career that they've been in a long time. For me, I have always told people that I feel like part of what helped me become successful and kind of just like go without hesitation into real estate was that I had this like very secure, like I had a W-2 check coming in every 2 weeks. So going between commission checks wasn't scary for me. It didn't have me acting in desperation. They always say they can smell it on you, like that the clients can smell it on you that you need your next commission check. And I think that's similar to people that have a spouse that has, especially if you don't need the second income per se. So, I did a pretty cool ramp up for the first like 2 years where I want to say I sold like in the first 12 months, I might have closed, I think like eight. And then I went to like 15 or 12 or something. And then like COVID happened and I went to 40.
Oh my God.
But yeah, the year that I quit, my capping year is like July to June. I was still working. I ended up ramping down to part-time in my full-time job. And so that's another thing I will tell people, like have a plan to do something like that if you can. Figure out how to cross your little like graphs, so that you can kind of ramp up and ramp down on your regular job if there's a way to do that. A lot of employers will, if you talk to them, they'll let you do that. And I do believe that it's possible that I wouldn't have been successful in real estate if I hadn't have had a second job. And it's what's so crazy about it is that I called part of how I ended up at EXP is I called small brokers that were in the area that I was moving to, and none of them wanted to deal with me as a part-time agent. I don't know if that was just at that time. I don't know if the market was, I don't know what the deal was, but they were not having it. And EXP didn't care if I was part-time and everything was cloud-based, so I could get online and do all my, my education or whatever. But um, I would have probably ended up at a small broker around here. My whole life would have been completely different, but tragically. But um, it just worked out that EXP being remote and me having a regular job just coincided perfectly and made it for like the perfect recipe um, for me to kind of take off. And I don't think that I don't think I would have thrived because I think I would have had more desperation and probably um, I would have freaked out the first time I went like two, because in your first 2 years, how many people go 2 to 6 months without a paycheck? So,
It is, that's so true. I've had a lot of people who join our company, and one of the questions they ask is it okay if I'm part-time? And they're
mhm,
almost like embarrassed or hesitant to say, hey, I'm not doing this full-time yet. And it's because other brokers have said, no, I won't take you on unless you're doing this full-time,
yeah,
which is interesting because some of those full-time agents, like if you sold 8 houses part-time, some people don't do that full-time.
I know. Yeah. So I think the bottom line is you have to be somewhere that is conducive and fosters that like openness to like it's okay if you have another job. Like we talked about earlier, I mean Tilly has another job. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's wrong with that is it's difficult to balance, right? So you do have to be willing to work at night. You do have to be willing to work on your weekends, which we do as real estate agents anyway, but I do think a lot of people like, especially if you've been like, it's funny, like you do this thing where it's like you're in the mode now in your business where you're like, I don't want to work nights and weekends, and maybe you don't have to. But if you're going to do two jobs or you're going to run two businesses at one time and you're not willing to put in, like you said, the 5 to 9 hours, you might, in my opinion, you should hang it up. Like you should just give it up because you're not, when you start your career and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to dabble in multiple things and you're that kind of creative business person mind, you're gonna be working like all the time. Even if it's just ideas. I mean, you and I do it all the time. We're sitting somewhere on a Saturday night and we message each other because we have a really great idea for something to do with our business. And I think you just have to embrace that that's part of it. But then I like how you also have a family, so there is a beauty to work-life balance. But when you start out, if you think that you're going to get away without working 10 to 12-hour days
Mhm.
because you have two jobs, you're wrong. You're going to work that much.
You heard that saying, it's like only entrepreneurs will skip the 40-hour work week to not have a real job, to work 60 hours just to
Right.
have freedom.
Right.
And
That's
that's
it.
so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
I do think that like when you're wildly, for me, I can't turn my brain off about something. I'm so excited about, team building. I'm so excited about whatever project or company or coaching or whatever thing I'm doing. It's all I think about. And so if I were doing, even if I'm doing a real estate business job and I've got a different real estate business and I'm like so excited about it, I feel like that's the trick, is finding something that you are like so motivated and pumped about that you can't stop thinking about it, that you're like, oh my gosh, who can I involved in this? Who can I tag into this? Who can I share this story with? Who can help me get that? And that has been big for me, is the who's, because when I first started, if you don't know me, I have a little bit of control issues of I'll just do it and I'll take that over, and you're not going to do it fast enough and you're not going to do it right. And so I'll just do it, for me. And that was a huge bottleneck in my business because I can only do so much, right? Especially now that I've got a husband and kids and all of that stuff. When you're single in your 20s, sure, you can take over the world by yourself, but you're working all the time and then you get burnt out. And so I had to really stop and go, who can I trust? Where can I place people? Who can I be, who can take over whatever I need? And what I found, a lot of business owners will say, okay, I'm the face, I'm the producer, I'm the one who's going to go out and catch I'm the sales and the ops and the back end. And they just feel so empowered to be the everything because no one will do it as good as them. And then they're like, they're building their own prison, right? Then the
Mhm.
business needs you to function. And that's not a business. It's just a really expensive job with a lot of overhead, right? And so I think my big shift this last couple of years has been, can I treat it like a real business? Like it's not like, can I replace myself if I had to? I won't, because
Mhm.
I love what I do, but I think that's something that us, even as realtors, we're like, oh, it's not a big deal. I normally schedule that, or I'll take care of that. And then then we're limited on what else we could be doing.
Yeah, and I think like you nailed it too with I mean for you it's always the leverage word, right? And I didn't even think about that, but I will say that I was smart enough to I think from very early, like maybe into that early second year, I had a TC already. So I had done like less than 10 transactions and I leveraged a TC. And I decided to, because I like really have trouble paying other people to do things that I think I can do. And I like look at their prices and I'm like, oh my God, why would I pay them $200 to do that? I could do it in 15 minutes. But I got over that and went ahead and like gave up that part of my commission to have that TC take that off of my I would call it even like mental plate, right? And I think that's what you're talking about. It's the things that we they might not even always take a lot of effort or even time, but they're just almost like bogging your mind down.
Right.
And I think it's important to leverage those activities if you can, and then you get over the money because when you're, especially when you're high drive and you really like new things and like you have just like you're like always looking for something new to do. You cannot, your mind can't process all of that and worry about the little crap, even if you're capable and you probably have 15 minutes to write a contract, but why would you do that whenever you're coming up with a new awesome idea that you can, leverage your brain to come up with a money-making business, which you're completely different than I am in the way that you've gone about your career. So talk to people about when you transitioned from just being a regular realtor and like what you and Jeff started doing next as far as like adding businesses to your real estate portfolio of things that made you money.
So I started just traditional real estate. I shouldn't say this, but I started real estate as a hobby. I was like, oh, like all my friends have their license and you can go online and take, click a couple buttons. And so I was like, I'll just do this for fun as a hobby. And then as you all know, it's addictive. You're like, oh, this is kind of fun. And these are real people and real houses. And I'm in Houston and there's so much opportunity. And 3% of what is what? Like it was a whole domino effect of I need more of this in my life. And that was when I just knew about buying and selling traditional real estate. And then I'm like, oh, there's like syndications and there's wholesale stuff and there's Teddy said I'm back. Welcome back, Teddy. There's commercial and multifamily, like there's land development. You're never bored. You're never going to run out of ways to make money. And when I was growing up, it was very much like, okay, go to school, get good grades, get a good steady job, and like the best case scenario, right? Like my degrees in the science background, I came to Houston for med stuff. All of my friends who went on to do medical stuff, they're making between two to max like $800,000 per year. They've got student loan debt, they've got high insurance, they're getting sued, they're working 12 hours a day, which is fine because we love what we're doing. But they at some point they have a cap. I can only trade my time for so much money, right? And you can't leverage off surgery, right? Like if you're a surgeon. And so I really thought about that because I wanted to be able to, even if you go crazy and you're like, my time's worth $1,000 an hour, $2,000 an hour, you're still trading time for money and you're going to hit a cap. And so I really love the idea of, I can take this model of building a business and I can take it to other places that I understand. Like I'm in a business right now where I'm learning the business model, and I don't love that. I love real estate related businesses because I know, okay, I know what a title company does. I know what hard money, I know what acquisitions do. Like I can speak that language and then I can know who to place and how to place people. So traditionally I started with, I think I sold 15 houses my first year and then 30. And then um, I never had like an original idea. I was never like, oh, I'm going to create a team because nobody's had a team before, or I'm going to start a title company because no one's ever done that before. I saw someone doing it and they were doing it, they looked really successful, right? And I was like, oh, this guy has a team and he's making a lot of money and he's selling a lot of houses. I'm going to start a team. Well, that was stupid because just because you're a good salesperson doesn't mean you're a good leader, right? I was like 25, no, 23, no idea about leadership at all. I was like, you just come over to my office and then I send you a lead and then you give me half your money and you're my assistant. I was paying my assistant like I don't know, 125 bucks cash in an envelope like a week. Like it was like totally not a business at all. He was like 12, I swear.
Mm,
And
you were like 12
I was
too.
like 12 too. But I was copying what someone else was doing. And then when I really learned their business, I was like, oh, he's at the office at 6:30 or 7. He's making cold calls for 4 hours a day. He's getting off and he's doing appointments till 6 p.m. I want what he has, but I don't want to do what he did to get there, right? And so, yes, you need to put in the work, but is there a way to do it smarter? And so that was my first puzzle of putting people together and seeing how that goes. And then, of course, with EXP, you have the ability to build teams and organizations, and I learned how to read personality types and place people strategically. And then I met a friend who had a title company, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing so many deals. Let me show you how I have my title company." But he's got like multiple, like lots of offices. And for me, small but mighty is much better than big and scaled. And you hope that you have the same profit. Maybe you make a little bit more profit, but you're taking up so much more time and energy and all of that
Mhm.
stuff. And so long story short, I was like, who are my who's? I need an attorney. I need an escrow officer. I need an assistant. If I can find those who's, and maybe not in that order, then I can figure that out. They don't really need me other than marketing, right? And then I was like, well, what else goes with real estate? And Jeff's like, oh, acquisitions. We want to, we're doing cold calling already. We're already paying for dialers. We know what people are looking for off market. That could be a business. And we're like, okay, great. Let's say they find that house and they want to fix it up. They're going to need hard money. Let's build out that. Who do you need for that? We need someone to do underwriting. We need a funder. We need a system that we can track all of the investors and things like that. We need people who are investors who want to give us money that we can loan out. Anyway, so that was the whole concept is what is needed or what's a gap that I'm seeing that's needed in the transaction already, and then how
Mhm.
can we fill that gap with who's. And what's cool is those who's are doing something that I don't want to do. They're leverage for me, but for them, I'm giving them an opportunity to build an entire business within my business. And so they're making great money and they're happy and they're not being babysat, right? Like they're being empowered, but then they're also leverage for me. And so that's kind of how it all started, and it's still going.
So what's interesting though is if I reverse timeline that you were at your prior brokerage and you were doing regular real estate and then you came to EXP and you started, I know y'all started building your revenue share organization and you started making that revenue share. Would you consider that probably your first, second stream of income? Were y'all doing much in like any single family flips or anything before that?
Yeah, when Jeff joined his team, he joined someone else's team. I joke that it took me 3 years to recruit him. Part of his contract was you have to buy a real estate investment or property of any kind within those 3 years. It was a 3-year contract because he's like,
Okay.
you're helping people buy and sell real estate and you've never bought or sold a house. Like you're kind of not valid, if you will, for
Mm-hmm.
lack of better words. And so we
Okay.
bought the 55. There was like a lady from California, ironically, she called and she said, hey, I have a $55,000 condo I want to sell. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. I'm going to make 1,500 bucks. And Jeff goes, well, why don't you just buy it? And I was like, what do you mean by it? He's like, you should buy that. And I go, well, it's really gross. Like there's like mold on the wall and the ceilings are gross and the AC suck. Like I don't want to buy. He's like, you want to buy this. Long story short, we bought it. We put like, I don't know, 20,000 into it. And then we held it. We rented it out for like 10 years. And last year we sold it for 130,000.
Wow.
So that was our first one, was like a little crappy, ugly condo that I walked into and I held my breath. I was like, I don't want to breathe the air that's in this condo because this place is so gross. And Jeff's like,
Yeah.
I love this. This is a good
Yeah.
investment. And I
So I'm going to interject. My one of my old investors I worked with, her saying was, "Pee is the smell of money.
ours was
Mold is
mold.
the smell of money." Yeah.
Ours was mold.
Yeah.
But he had an eye for that, and he loved it. So that's how
Okay. So you kind of started that. Were y'all doing that when he was at KW then? Before y'all? Okay.
we had that one, and then we bought West Main and Upper Kirby in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first like we're adulting little. It was a townhouse, a small townhouse. EXP. Fast forward to EXP. We came here almost 11 years ago, which is wild. Um,
Mm-hmm.
First 2 years, we didn't recruit anyone. I was like, I don't want a second job. I'm not a recruiter. I didn't get it. I just didn't understand it all. I was like, I'm here for the stock, and Jeff's here for the technology, and we're here to sell houses. We want to sell houses. And
Yeah.
that's where we started scaling like, okay, I can do city-side Houston, I can do city-side Austin, San Antonio, right? Because if you figure out your business model, whatever you're darn good at, copy and paste it and put it everywhere because you've already done the hard work. The rest is just, you know, expansion, if you will.
Yeah.
So 2 years later, we recruit Hui, right, who's a total rock star. And the whole thing was we hired a coach, and our coach was like, go talk to 5 people and ask them to join EXP. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, you paid me $2,500 to tell you what to do. Go do that. And we did that, and 3 people said yes. And we're like, oh, okay, like this
Yeah.
is the thing. Like people are interested in this.
Yeah.
And so At the end of the day, all of the things that I've done and all of the things I'm doing are either something that I saw someone else do and I was like, that's really cool. I want to duplicate that. Or
Yep.
I paid someone to tell me what to do and they told me
Yep.
what to do. And then I just like stretched myself and went and did it. And so it's taken a long time. Like I said, I've been at EXP over 10 years. 2 of those years I didn't recruit anyone. And really the last 5 years, I mean, COVID, right? COVID made us start to go, oh, I need to get paid multiple streams of income and I need to figure things out and I need to buy my time back because
Yep.
all of us were so busy during COVID, which was great
Hmm.
until it wasn't great. Like we were working nights and weekends and our quality of life was for me not great, right? Like I was in the school pickup line and someone else was pretty much raising my kid that whole year, I feel like.
Yep.
And that year we sold 750 houses. We made over $5 million in commission. And I never want to do that again. I was the least happy I had ever been in my real estate career.
Yep.
Yeah. So now the whole concept is how can I build a system like an ecosystem and place people strategically to buy back my time, give them opportunity, and then teach them, even in their same roles, how to find leverage and buy back their time.
So how do you handle the time constraints of all of the things? Like I know you have people, but do you I know we talked a little bit about loving what we do. You're probably better at boundaries with your time. So tell people a few of Amanda's like tricks on how you protect your time. Maybe you shouldn't tell them because then they're going to know if you don't answer the
No.
message.
Okay, so for me, like I like to text. I don't like to call, right? Because sometimes a call could have been, or a meeting could have been an email, right? We've all seen those t-shirts. This could have been an email.
Hmm.
Or if it's important, they can send me a voice memo. I don't answer a lot of calls unless you're saved or you have an appointment, just because it's something that you're not allocated for, right? And if you're worth 500 or $1,000 an hour and someone calls you for 30 minutes, you can't send them an invoice for 500 bucks, right? You just lost that time. You'll never get it back. So texts are important to me. Voice memos are great. Emails are fine. If someone texts me something business related where they need like a business response, I ask them to email it to me. So I try to separate like the social part of it, and then all my work stuff is on my email, so I can kind of allocate that. When I'm really busy, I'll have someone help me check my emails, but typically my control issues I like to follow through. And then teaching people how to treat you. I'm sure you've heard like the universe will give you what you're willing to accept. And it's the
Hmm.
same concept. Like if someone's consistently coming to you and like asking you questions, but they've never really taken the time to do their own research, or, they're not valuing your time. They're just like, okay, Amanda will do it for me. I'll start to say, that's a great question. Can you go back and think about two or three answers and then come back with me with those two or three answers and we can kind of go over them together? So I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I'm not going to steal your struggle. This is a growing moment for you and this is where you can learn what you're capable of and empower them, and then what they'll do that two or three times, and then they'll learn I can go find my own answers typically, unless it's high level. And then when they come with me with high level things, it's, hey, I've got this problem. This is what I think I should do. This is my experience. This is what I've researched. And it's just a better high level conversation. And so I think teaching people how to treat you and having those time boundaries, even with clients, they need to book me in advance. They need to plan ahead, and I'll tell them why. And they respect that.
Yeah. You've taught me a lot in that department because I talk a lot and I really get like entrenched in conversations with people and it kills so much of my bandwidth and I love it. That's what's hard is like it's hard not doing something you love, which is like just building rapport with people and getting to know other humans. And but at the end of the day, I have to protect my bandwidth so that I can do the things that are. It's not that the relationship, there's always an ROI in relationships with people, right? I mean, that's how you've gotten where you're, that's why you're where you're at right now, like literally physically sitting in the space in the room you're
So
sitting in
pretty.
is because of relationships. But you do have to balance it and you've really helped me. So I feel like if anybody struggles with that and you feel like you waste a lot of your time on the phone with people, start practicing what Amanda's preaching because it will change your life and you can do it kindly. You don't have to feel bad about it. Like I did yesterday, I literally texted somebody and I said, "Hey, on the details for that, can you text them or drop me a voice chat and I'll get back to you, faster because of that because I can't get on the phone with somebody and talk to them for 30 minutes every single day of my life. I mean, I don't have those conversations as much anymore. So, um, okay, another thing I want to talk about is another thing that I think that you've taught or I've seen and that I've tried to do myself is when you go into a a second business related to real estate, or maybe not necessarily, but I mean, I think for us mostly it's been real estate, either real estate purchases, so investment properties, or other lines of business. One of the themes that you mentioned that I agree with is try to pick something that, like, I guess the thing is why do we pick what we pick? And it really needs to be it needs to marry well with what you already do because it's easier, like it's lower stress, it's lower energy to like pick an ancillary service, or even like for me, like I bought a few single family homes and I really didn't enjoy that. And then I realized like when I bought my office, like that made sense because it's a great real estate asset. It's a commercial building and I can use it for my real estate business right now. But then I have this commercial asset that I can either rent later on. I could rent it to a title company. I can rent it to a home inspector company or like a plumber, an ancillary service that could use that building. But in the meantime, I'm the ancillary service, right? My real estate business is. Um, and I feel like that's what I've heard from you. And I guess for everybody on here, if you're thinking about what could I do as another income stream, um, smarter, not harder, right? Like think of something you can do that, and also um, that can help you build relationships with other service providers. But if you can, you're already sending business to a title company. Why wouldn't you just figure out how to scam a little bit off of that, you know? Scam is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Scam, whatever. What do you think about people that naturally would do a single family investment home? Do you recommend that route anymore, or do you think they should try to look for something that's
I think
different,
it's
better,
whatever they're
bigger?
comfortable with where they can make the numbers work. Some people have 500 houses, single family houses, and they love it and it makes sense for them. For me, if you could potentially buy 200 doors that are all in the same location where you're not competing against other people and you have one property manager and one tax ID number, like that multifamily, I think is the long-term way to go. And if you follow even like commercial real estate, you can instantly make that house worth more, right? Like if I buy 123 Main Street and it's in a subdivision, I have to wait for 3 or 4 comps to pop up and sell for more for my house to be worth more. But if it's commercial, you just make the rental rate more, or you improve the property and then you fix the cap rate or you cap exit or whatever, and all of a sudden you've got a new value and you can pull out more money. And so you can have way more control in the commercial space.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Um,
Which
so
is
I feel
sounds
like people
scary.
that go ahead.
Yeah, it might sound scary, but just find out other people who are doing it. That's my biggest thing is that I either see someone doing it and I'm like, hey, I need to take you, I need you in my world. I don't know how we're going to work together. I know that sounds nutty, but I'm going to find a way to work with you. Can I take you to coffee? Can I take you to dinner? I will come to wherever you are. And typically the most successful people are like, oh, I like a hustler. I used to be that and I wish I had a mentor. I wish someone would have taught me this. And so even like I needed a bookkeeper for something, and I was like, I need a very specific type of bookkeeper for this type of company. And they're like, oh yeah, it took me 3 years to find this guy. I went through 6 people. I don't want you to have to go through that. And so I think sometimes we've got this mindset of, oh, I'm not worthy of that, or I don't want to bother them, or their time is worth too much. They got to where they are from relationships, and you're a relationship, and you're going to find a way to bring them value. So go find someone who's doing what you want to do, like something big and scary, and then go stalk them and find a way to get in front of them for an hour and get their attention. And I guarantee you, you'll walk away with some good context.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna
Do you
say
have
something
any?
like today, literally, like in the house that I'm in, I'm like, your net worth is your network. Like sometimes just you're one text message away from like getting that one contact that's going to open up so many different doors for you. So if it's multifamily you want to get into, or if it's hedge funds or it's single family, or you're like, I want to get into literally anything, especially real estate related, like go find someone already doing it, or go find a coach and pay them a little bit of money to like stress you out, and they'll make you do stuff that you know you need to be doing anyway. And those daily activities, it's a game changer.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or want to share like their story about having two jobs or two streams of income that take up a lot of time or energy or
Well, me, of course.
sure.
Two things. I'm gonna share it with you guys. It's called the butterfly story. You may not heard of it, but it's about struggle. I actually, at my sister's first wedding, she's now married, second wedding, but this is what I was maid of honor. And I read this as like my speech, and it's just about It was a butterfly that was in a cocoon, right? And you'll read it yourself and get your own interpretation and feelings from it because everybody's going to interpret this differently, right? But it kind of the short of it is that a human being saw the struggle and used scissors to cut the butterfly out. And that struggle the butterfly was going through was going to strengthen the muscles in the butterfly's wings so it could fly. And because the human stepped in at the wrong time and thought it was trying to be helpful, it never was able to fly. That's kind of like the gist of the whole story. But it just talks about how struggle is important, which Amanda, you were just talking about. Like you're like when I realize my boundaries as giving too much, and I've been told the same thing. I've been told sometimes I pour oil into pots that have holes in them. Right. So I just keep giving, giving, giving. And I just because I'm such a giver and a loving person, a nurture yoga teacher, you know, that person. But it's the wrong vessel that I'm pouring into. Right. And you have to learn that boundary. But so just shared that in the chat. It's a really great little story just about struggle and how important struggle is and how to just sometimes just let people struggle because that's where their growth is it's gonna allow them to fly. Right.
Yeah, we have
So
that in our house, and my daughter was actually trying to open a can, and her big sister came to help her, and she goes, "Don't steal my struggle!" And she was like so adamant about
that's
that.
so cute.
Love that because it's so
So
true. And
my
for you thinking about pouring like your bucket, if you will, John Maxwell talks about you can pour it into like the drain, right? Or you can pour it into a fountain, and the fountain recycles and it overflows.
yes,
And I also saw an analogy yesterday where we all talk about the buckets and how important the buckets are, but we never really talk about the well that we're going to fill up our bucket. So really think about that as well.
yeah. So I actually want to take my story way back. So I was a restaurant manager. I was in restaurants from 16 through 40. Okay. And I worked for Chewy's for 12 years. I started as a waitress, moved all the way up to assistant general manager. I ran the kitchen. I had like 60 employees in the back, 60 employees in the front. I was a hostess manager, bartender manager, bus manager, all the jobs you could have in the umbrella of Chewy's. The beautiful thing about the original owners of Chewy's was that they allowed you to manage the numbers in the P&L from baby manager all the way through up. So I've been working on P&Ls since I was like for 20 plus years, right? I would know where every penny went in that business, every penny. And I loved it because mostly in restaurants, if you're just a regular manager, you're just kind of walking around and telling people what to do. You're not part of the business. You don't know how much a napkin cost. Like I can tell you, all my waiters knew how much if I picked up a napkin and said, "How much does this cost?" They'd be like, "One penny." "How much does the straw cost?" "One penny." "How much does the silverware cost?" 5 cents. You know what I mean? And they knew if they threw something away or whatever. And I was able to manage at that small level. But restaurant working, 12 to 16, sometimes hours a day. I mean, I'm telling you, sometimes I'd have to work a double because the manager would be sick or a line cook walked out in the middle of the shift and I'd have to jump on the line and work the line. Um, it's tiring. So like at 40, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I decided I'm going to go to culinary school, right? I'm just going to stay in the same business, go to culinary school. So I was driving to Shenandoah from the Montrose. I had to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then from 5 to 2, I would be managing the kitchen, which is I would be on the line cooking, like actually line cooking, not just managing it, but cooking, putting rice and beans on every platter, burning myself, touching all those hot plates, everything. And then at 2 o'clock, I would drive down here to HCC Culinary School, and I would go to school from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And that was my day because I wanted to get myself out of where I felt like wasn't being treated right, or I just didn't want to
Mhm.
work so many hours. But sometimes you have to sacrifice to have the change, right? So that was like my biggest thing. And it was great because I actually got like this big recognition from this like HCC's president. And I was put on this like National Honor Society because I was doing things. I was also doing yoga, y'all, teaching yoga. So I was teaching yoga, working this crazy full time and going to school full time. I never took a summer off. I went straight through all summers, full time student. And I got this recognition that I didn't even think I could at 40 years old as a woman. I was single, not married. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it was like, I didn't even expect it. I'm just so used to working so hard that like it was such a beautiful thing that I was like recognized. There was only 3 people picked out of the whole college for this like
Mhm.
scholarship thing. And I didn't do well in undergrad and like back when I was a kid. Like I just was too busy partying and having fun and stuff when I was younger to like care about school back then. But when I went back to school at 40, you're like, okay, I'm not going to waste my time this time.
Yeah, and
I'm
your money. That's common. Yeah.
I think
yeah,
knowledge equals income. I'm really like the more we learn, the more we're going to be able to earn. And you hear that and you're like, oh, it's kind of cheesy, but like seriously, find a way to make yourself irreplaceable. And if you're not bringing value in a way that's different than someone else, like I went on a fancy listing appointment and they were interviewing three other realtors, but I was the only one who was asking them, okay, I know your finances are not my issue, but are you going to need to do a 1031? Are you going to funnel this through a trust? Like, what is the end game here? And then come to find out, he's like, well, I started paperwork on a trust and I went to sign it and then I got busy and then my wife was traveling and I haven't signed it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is why a trust is important for you, wife, in case the husband gets hit by a bus and for tax reasons. And like, I walked them through the financials as a business consultant rather than just as a, hey, I'm going to list your house. And they were like, you just saved me like $200,000. Like I am so thankful for you. I got the full like 3% listing, like the whole thing. And they were like, I've learned so much in the last 5 minutes that I've been in business 30 years kind of thing. And so, but at the end of the day, if I wouldn't have learned that, someone else with some kind of fancy presentation might have snagged it. That's a way for me to stand out. So I challenge everyone, whatever your thing is that you pick, because I feel like the idea is only do what only you can do, right? Like literally find someone else to do all of the other low-hanging, easy stuff to do. Only do what only you can do. And whatever that is, be damn good at it. Be the best at that. Like if you're not in research mode and you're not irreplaceable, why are you doing that? Pick something else.
Yeah, I agree. I think no matter what job you're doing, that you need to figure out how to be excellent at it, right? And if you're not motivated to be excellent so that you win the awards or whatever,
Yeah.
then why are you here? I mean, life is too short to do a job that sucks or that you just kind of like, you
For a
know?
paycheck. Yeah.
You have to be if you're not motivated to be the best in like some capacity, like whether it's like you want to do relocation or you want to do investments or you want to know about 1031s and like trust and all that stuff, you have to figure out how to differentiate yourself in something that you're excited about learning more about all the time.
And we
So
talked about like having your ideal client, right? So maybe do it backwards. Go, who is my ideal client? Who do I dream about getting to work with all of the time? And then what do they need? And then how can I be the exact specialist that nobody else is doing what I'm doing that would cater to that exact ideal client? And you can take that to any business. Like that is just, it's money and it's duplicatable. And then everything else someone else can do. But and another concept because I hate replacing myself is I'll go, oh, they're only like 70% as good as me, or they're only 80% as good as me. But if you have four people who are 80% as good, or five people who are 80% as good as you, that equals four of you. Like that's four Lauras, right? And so even if they're not Laura, it's four Lauras because I've got five of them. And if you can structure it in a way where they're getting paid when you get paid, it's performance based. So there's no capital risk of paying them hourly or having them on a salary, incentivize them to get paid when you get paid. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. That is how you can run a successful business with no overhead and have leverage.
I agree.
It's exciting. Well, I love this topic. If any of y'all have questions or if you're like, hey, I'm struggling, I know one of you I'm meeting on Friday about how do I transition, from full-time job to full-time realtor. Or if you have a business and you're like, how do I scale that? Or how do I start my second or third or fourth business? That is our love language. We would love to meet with you one-on-one.
And Amanda, I know I think you have to jump, but which we can go ahead and end, but early today since I know you've got she's kind of being a movie star right now, y'all. I'm just saying she's filming a really great class. It's going to be like reusable, repurpose. We all need to learn from this, by the way. So Amanda, we need to teach people how to do this, how to make their content. It'll be kind of like evergreen, right? What you're doing now that you'll be able to put it out
I'm
there. Tell everybody what you're doing,
I'm
by the way.
teaching, so I have a friend who owns Success Unlocked, and I'm teaching three master classes. One is how to build an elite team that runs without you. And so we'll talk about, why most teams fail, how typically we're the bottlenecks, right? And then the disc and how to place people strategically. We kind of talk about like how not to give them a function like a chair, but hire them to be, part of your dream kind of thing. I'm doing one on introverts who convert because I'm introverted and how introverts are actually have a superpower of reading people and feedback. And They do sales in a different way, which is okay. We don't have to be loud. We don't have to make 50 phone calls. We want deep, meaningful conversations. And then I'm also doing one on, how do regular people buy freedom through real estate? You're making a $1,200 a month rental, and then how do you go from that to ending up building a multi-million dollar portfolio? And it's sounds scary, but it's really very scalable and possible. But what I've learned is everything that we've learned in real estate, sales is sales and people are people. And so you can generalize it to how to build an elite team, right? Or how to find leverage or how to whatever. And you can market that to so many other people. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you're like, I want to get more buyers, build out a buyer, how to buy your first house in Texas. And here's all of the grants and here's the buy box and here's how you can make money on the acquisition and build like tie in some business and hey, I feel like there's some numbers backing this rather than just the warm and fuzzy. And you record it one time and then it's evergreen and then you can have lead capture and paywalls behind it and you can get a lot of buyers that way. So for me, I think that we do a lot of work that is not seen that we need to start showing people and then we need to find a way to do it, make it repeatable over and over and buy back our
Yeah.
time.
I love that. And then on the topic that we were on today, we should teach a class on or figure out how to do a recording of how to transition from or maybe have two jobs at once or how to transition from full-time to part-time to full-time in real estate because we that's such a common topic and we have a lot of people that can chime in and give advice and help coach people on that. So I think we should pick it up probably in more detail. So maybe when we interview Dee Dee, we can have more discussion on that.
Okay. I love that. I
Yep.
think that's something that you could use for empowering agents and then also recruiting agents.
At
I know Jeff's
100% on that. Recruiting. That's a thing too. Everybody should use that. If you have that in your background, use that as your superpower when you're talking to new agents because they're going to be able to relate to you and that'll help you build rapport.
Jeff's teaching a class on investors, and he's like, everyone who's investing in real estate, if you didn't spend the $500 to get your real estate license, but you're selling a $300,000 house, that's a $10,000 return on investment for just one house, and you're doing two houses a month. Like, do the math on that. And so
Yeah,
there's a lot of times where it makes sense to get your license, and even if you are part-time and be here at EXP.
I love it. All right, well, go do your filming and be she's going to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and we're all going to get a picture of Amanda and her little Hollywood self. So thank you, Amanda, and thank you to everybody who joined.
Thank you all. We'll see you next week. Talk
Yeah,
soon.
bye.